So number one, what is a jumbo loan? And number two, why is it so crazy like that? That's like up and down like crazy.
Well, so the jumbo financing is the one that provided by private investors,
Okay.
and they set the interest rates, and if they feel more comfortable, they lower them. Typically, rates on jumbo are very close to conforming, and sometimes even better. Right here, you can see they were pretty close
Pretty
in
close.
this,
Yeah.
in October, middle of October, beginning of November.
Okay.
I don't have anything beyond that, but a lot of times jumbo rates are pretty low. I guess it's a confidence level
Okay.
for the investor. So let's talk about like jumbo a little bit.
Okay.
Okay. What is jumbo? So there are three different tiers of loan amounts. We have conforming loan limits, and it depends on a county. It depends on in the county, basically, and
Okay.
sometimes in states. Those limits could vary. So I'm talking about here immediate area in metropolitan DC area. We have Fairfax, Loudoun, Prince William County, and Montgomery County, if you're talking about Maryland and DC.
Okay.
So those are the limits for the metropolitan area. 726,200, that's conforming loan limit. And then we have a high balance conforming, that's up from 726,201 to 1,089,300. And after that, it's jumbo, or it could be jumbo starting at 726,201 or over 1,089,300. So what are the differences? So conforming and high balance conforming, those are, like you mentioned, Fannie and Freddie loans. And the rates are going to be a little bit different between them.
Okay.
Conforming rates are slightly lower than high balance conforming rates. Also, the guidelines could be slightly different. 3% down minimum required on conforming, 5% minimum down payment for high balance. There also could be some differences in requirements for in the credit score.
Okay.
For
Gotcha.
the jumbo, those are not Fannie or Freddie. Those are private investors, big banks that provide those loans, and they set the rules. Some follow Fannie Freddie guidelines closely. Some have their overlays, but in meaning that they make it more stringent. But overall, because we're talking about high loan amounts, they like to see A plus borrowers to make sure that to minimize the possibility of default of foreclosures, right?
Right.
So they want to see higher credit scores. For example, conforming or high balance, you could have credit score as low as 620 and 640.
Wow.
Jumbo, they want to see, in most cases, 720, 740. Sometimes they go to 700, but then you're going to have adjustment to the interest rate. Their interest rate is going to be higher, if the credit score is below 740. Also, they require 20% down payment. Sometimes, depending on investors, they could require 10%, but in most cases it's 20% down payment, and
Okay.
they want to see solid reserves, meaning that money left after the closing. So if someone needs to bring 200,000 to the closing, they want to see that they have additional X amount of money in their accounts. Could be in liquid assets, could be in retirement. Again, those are the guidelines for jumbo. They're very different from investor to investor.
Okay,
Gotcha.
so those being different from investor to investor, that could mean that the reserves required could also vary, like it could be 6 months or 12 months, or is that generally the
Exactly.
same?
It could be 6 months, it could be 12, it could be 36 months.
Oh,
Okay,
wow. Okay.
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 And there are some investors that require 36 months in certain situations, liquid assets.
Oh, wow.
Hmm,
And meaning what's 6 months or 36 months of the mortgage payment. So let's say we're talking about big bucks, right? So the mortgage payment is, let's say, 15,000 per month,
Mhm.
multiplied by 36. They want to see someone to have 540,000 in reserves, sometimes
Wow.
in liquid assets. So that's why I put right here that jumbo could be from 726 to 01, or you can do high balance if you get in a mortgage at 726 201 and you have only 5% down, you might just stick with high balance conforming, or if you have 20% down,
Yeah.
you might look into jumbo depending on what rates are doing at that point. Like I mentioned, sometimes typically jumbo rates are better than high balance rates
Mhm.
okay.
in general, not right this moment, but sometimes maybe
Okay.
at some point it will go back to that. I just looked up the rates, for example, on jumbo is 7.875 right now, for 20% down, $1.5 million sales price, 740 credit score. High balance, if you're not a first-time home buyer, the rate is 8.125.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
So they
Okay.
might be, it might be beneficial to look into jumbo if you are putting at least 20% down.
Okay.
Gotcha. And there are options, and we don't have to go into the details on this because it's probably lender specific, but you do have options. Let's say that somebody's looking at a $1.5 million loan, so they have they have to be in a jumbo only, but they only have 10% down. There are ways that you can work that where they like maybe a line of credit
Like
or
it
something.
conforming
Yeah.
along with a HELOC?
Like a HELOC or like they're side by side loans or something like that. But there are ways that you can do that. So, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but if somebody's watching this and they're thinking, well, I was going to buy a 1.5 and I've only got 150,000 to put down, I can't get a loan. They still need to talk to you because there may be a way that they can work it out.
Oh,
Am I correct
exactly.
in that?
Absolutely. And you're right that sometimes we split loans in two. We have first mortgage, maybe 1.89 million, and then the rest would be the HELOC. And like I mentioned, depends on investors. Some are okay with 10% down payment. So we just need to definitely talk to the lender and see what they can offer.
Okay. All right. Very good. That clears that up a lot. Okay.
Yeah.
And that explains why it's so up and down, and it doesn't necessarily follow the graph line that you just had.
Right.
Doesn't necessarily follow the conforming loans. Okay.
Right. Yeah, because they're private. Okay, so let's and we should also mention that we have a video coming about what you were talking about, the conforming Fannie, Freddie, those loans too, right? We're gonna have one of those that
Yep.
people can take a look at
That's right.
to see what
That's
we're
right.
talking about.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can go look on the YouTube channel and see that. All right. Well, thank you for that. That was really good information. And if anybody needs to get in touch with you, how can they reach out to you? Where can they find you?
My number is 571-245-3000.
Okay. Awesome. All right. We'll see you next week.
I'll see you next week.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.